So, guys, I am a big Tesla fan, so here's Marco expounding. Let's talk about this. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Let's see.
All right, so do you remember when Elon Musk said that Teslas would soon be able to just drive themselves across the entire
And he
country
also said he would
with
have
no one in the driver's seat,
Cybertrucks, and
like
that's
full
not
self-driving?
happened yet. So.
I remember that too, but that's not real yet. But this demo that I'm going to start right now is as close to that as I can possibly get. I'm going to hit this button on the steering wheel, and I have the navigation set, and this car will now drive me to the studio. I will attempt to interrupt this as few times as possible, but as you'll see, it has its strengths and weaknesses, and there are probably going to be times where I do have to either put my foot on the brake or take over steering or do something for the car. The number one reason
This
I've
must be
had
the
to do
latest
that so
one.
far
Cause look at that
is
steering
not
wheel. That is so
safety,
cool looking car.
but
I'm not
actually
gonna
just
lie about it.
embarrassment. Like, it just slammed on the brakes seeing that car backing up. And now it has the blinker on for some reason, but it's way too early. It needs to go all the way to the stop sign. Now it's going. And then it needs to handle
This
a
is cool to
roundabout.
watch
So
without having you be in the
pedestrians,
car.
oncoming cars, there's a lot going on. I have a feeling I'm going to have to interrupt on this roundabout. We'll see. There's a lot happening. But the bread and butter is definitely highway driving. So
Ooh,
we'll
is it
see
gonna
it
try
get
to beat that
point,
car?
and we'll see what it does. So now it's creeping forward, and it has to deal with New Jersey drivers, which is kind of a lot.
Every state says that now. I've noticed that now. Every state says
I'm a
that.
little bit nervous. She's waving me on, thanks. But it's also looking at that car, so it might
She's
hit the
waving you
brakes,
on,
but
but
it
the
doesn't. Okay, heads to the roundabout, dives right in, hits the brakes for some reason, makes it through.
Oh.
Okay, hits this turn for some reason. Oh, that's the navigation, and we're off. This is like, there's a lot going on here, and I'll talk you through it through this whole uncut video. We have the camera facing me, we have the camera facing forward, but I'm going to try not to cut through them too much, and I will not cut anything out of this drive. So, right now, the speed limit, according to the signs that it's red, is 35 miles an hour. And it can default to up to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, so now it's comfortably going 45, totally fine. There's lots of cops like this one in that don't seem to mind, so that's cool. But it's also coming up to a turn here, so it's gonna have to slow down, put the blinker on,
okay, slowing down.
hit that
Okay.
left turn. So it slows down, puts the blinker on. It's got some oncoming traffic, and it also has this car here over the line, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, so at least tells you what cars it sees. So
Jersey
that's
drivers
good to
tend
know. Like
not
you can
let
tell
you
that
in,
it sees it.
But they're letting me in. So it makes the turn. Don't hit anything. Okay. Oh man, apply a light force. So every once in a while you're gonna see it light up the screen in front of me, and it says to apply a light force to the steering wheel, because the idea is this is just a little bit more than regular traffic aware cruise control. So it wants to make sure my hand is still on the wheel, so it wants a little bit of firm pressure on the wheel every once in a while. This is a hard merge. This is a highway speed Route 17 entrance ramp.
Ooh.
And I'm not so sure how it's going to handle this one. Let's give it a chance here. There's also a car really
Marquise is risking his life for video, guys. You have to give him that. You gotta give him that.
And I have a feeling it's just gonna wait until they get a red light over there, because it says on this screen it's gonna try to get into the second lane, and that's just not happening at the speeds I've seen this go. So I'll just say that the most common interference that I've had to do, like I said, was by embarrassment. There we go. It's because it tries to be very cautious. So it just went out into the third lane there, which is fine because there was no one behind me.
That's good. I mean, I feel better for it to be cautious. That's not something I would complain about.
Get into the left lane because we'll need to make a left-hand exit off of 17. Tap to cancel if you want, but I'm totally cool with that. It slowly speeds up, 60 miles an hour max, and it's comfortable. There's the blinker. It checked my shoulder. It changed lanes. I definitely feel more comfortable with it on a highway than anything. But also, if I just open up my camera here and point it at this dash, this is one of the reasons why they said there is a yoke in these cars, is because the top half of the steering wheel would have blocked this otherwise really impressive view of all of the things that the car sees and displays. So it displays the road, the signs, the other vehicles around you, pedestrians. I'll fire the camera up again when there's a lot more impressive stuff to show, but as of right now, we're taking an entrance ramp to a new highway, and then we'll have to do an exit and another entrance, which is interesting. Light forces steering wheel. What else? Oh, there's a camera up here in the middle of the car. And what I've noticed, because I've had this beta for maybe 2 weeks now, is if you look away from the road for too long, that camera will notice, and it'll start beeping at you and tell you, hey, look at the road, or I'm going to pull over and stop doing the self-driving. So that's good to know.
I had a car and it would just stop.
Signs up here.
The self-driving. And it almost killed me.
There's a truck behind me. I might have to take over. I'm going to take over. So that's a pretty good instance of an unusual set of things on the road. I'll re-engage here. That it just didn't seem to pick up. Where if you were driving, it would arrive at those unusual things. And I'm sure if I wasn't as embarrassed, I could have just let it figure that out for a few more seconds. But I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just let it do its thing on roads it's comfortable with. But as you can see, it sees those cones over there. And it is going to try to take this exit, and I don't think it's going to get this. Okay, let's see what happens. It says upcoming lane change with some cones.
It sees the cones too.
Really impressed. Construction detected. Navigation on autopilot limited. It says that on the screen, and yeah, I'm gonna have to take over. It did not know that it had to take that exit there. That's fine. But what I do know is the actual highway driving part is typically its forte.
Well, I don't think Marquise is understanding. The thing under the screen was telling the car not to go that way.
But
it's probably the way he knows how to get to work, but not the way the GPS is going. He probably didn't know that. He probably wasn't paying attention.
That's literally just basically traffic-aware cruise control.
I didn't do anything wrong in that case.
And I mostly only use that on highways when it's like stop-and-go traffic and it's annoying to drive. So let me turn it back on. Auto steer temporarily unavailable. Interesting. How about trying it again? Okay, that time it did get mad at me. Weird. So here comes a merge. There's a car behind me. He let me in. Cool. And now there's a toll booth coming up, which I think it can also handle because it's basically just staying in its lane. But we'll see about that. I mean, I have easy pass, so it should follow the car in front of me. Cool. Apply light force. Got it. I'm sorry. Toll booth detected. So it knew it was a toll booth, but it did that right. And here's another look at
how does the car not?
I mean,
how long is this man's office, bro? Like, dang.
The stripes on the other side of the road. New Jersey drivers.
His battery's almost as done.
Insane.
But he get 100 miles.
And now it sees that the speed limit is 35 miles an hour. But I think when it gets on this highway, it's going to know to bump up to highway speed. So it takes this turn. kind of slows down a little bit. But now we're on the highway, and it's bumped up to 65 miles an hour, and it ramps up to the appropriate speed. This is stressful. This is not what you would hope, which is like taking the stress out of driving and just being a passenger and looking around and having a good time. This is a lot more making sure the car doesn't do weird things. Okay, there are 3 settings here. If I go to settings for autopilot on the car, you scroll down, full self-driving beta has either average, chill, or assertive for the driving profile. Now it's sitting here in the right lane behind the CRV. I'm going 58 into 65. It's pretty chill. But I do have it in assertive mode, and it says that changes your follow distance and more frequent speed lane changes and will not exit passing lanes. So, theoretically, on the next 4.5 miles of highway, if it sees a gap, it will move over into a faster passing lane to pass this CRV. I also still have a little bit of control here because right now it sees 65 mile an hour as its max, and that's actually totally in the flow of traffic right now, but I'm going to bump that up to the 10 over that it's comfortable with to 75. So if it finds the gap as I sit behind this truck here in a not great spot, if it finds the gap, it will overtake, it'll change lanes, and it will stay in a passing lane because it's in assertive mode. Maybe. I've been like hovering over the brake pedal this entire time. Okay.
It's actually doing a quite very good job.
This is much more reasonable parts of the drive. What I also noticed is, you put in your destination to enable this full self-driving thing, but it often doesn't know exactly when to end the navigation. It might arrive at like a parking lot or pull over on the side of the road where it thinks the GPS location is where your drive is supposed to end, but it doesn't know to get into a parking space. I mean, we'll get to the studio and we'll just see what it does. But I have a feeling we're not going to end up in the parking spot I usually park in. We'll find out when we get there, though. See a little bit of traffic up ahead. Another Tesla. I wonder if they're self-driving. Probably not. But so far, it has not found any reason to change lanes yet or pass this CRV, even though it's set to 75. It's been comfortable sitting at 65. Totally reasonable. So yeah, this is what it's like getting driven around by the car. I mentioned Elon's promise at the beginning. Elon's promise was kind of along the lines of these cars eventually becoming robo-taxis, which is obviously a very far out promise and a very optimistic looking future. But theoretically, you spend most of the time not in your car. You commute in the morning, you drive home in the afternoon, and the rest of the time the car just sits around and does nothing for you. So what if your car would drive like a Lyft for you or drive like an Uber for you while you're not using it? If self-driving was good enough, that could actually work. Yeah, I don't think it's that good yet. I would not feel comfortable
extra
sitting
cash
in the back seat of this car without the ability to intervene as this very moment. There are some cars passing me. A little bit weird in the lane here, kind of ping-ponging back and forth between the lane changes, and now it's finally deciding to lane change. Confirm lane change into faster, so use the signal to do that. So I hit the signal to confirm that I wanted to move into the faster lane. Now I'm in the faster lane, and it's going to finally pass that CRV in the middle. Cool. Honestly, I'm totally fine with it on a highway. I feel much more comfortable with what it does in these very obvious roads that don't have construction, that are well lined. I will also note, though, that Tesla has moved their systems entirely to vision-based, meaning they just use the cameras. No radar, no LiDAR. And we're doing this in a pretty comfortable set of driving conditions visually. The sun might be in my eyes or whatever, but like this is well lit. There's not a whole lot of crazy things going on. But what if it was snowing? Or what if it was just whiteout fog? Or there was a lot of rain and it was hard to see the lines on the road? I kind of wonder if full self-driving takes a meaningful hit in functionality, if it just works worse there. Either way, it's signaling an upcoming lane change now.
That's a good question. I'm very curious to see that. But anyway, this is all my EPG sign out. Have a good one.